Should be live. Hi, everybody. I am Susie, and I am here with a super awesome special guest, Abby Parrots. She is a mom of 5 beautiful kids between, I think, like small to 19 years old. So you have a
9 to 19. Yeah,
9 to
I've got the
19.
range.
That is amazing. So she's going to be here today and help us understand how to write as when you have kids at home, because she is a super successful freelance mom. And that's also her blog name, Successful Freelance Mom. So she's going to share with us strategies that she uses that have grown her business and how she finds time to write and be successful online. All right, so let me just double check everything's going well, everything's working. And then awesome. Hi, Robin. All right, so Abby, please let us know who are you, kind of your story and your background, and the tips that you have for us.
Sure. So some of the time, Susie, I'm going to have some notes up in front of me, so I may not see comments. So if you see something that's really relevant, please feel free to interrupt me. Okay, so hi, I am Abby, and I am a mom of 5 children, including one with significant special needs. So I absolutely understand the struggle with not having enough time to write. So I've spent most of the last 20 years working from home as a freelance writer. For the first 15 years of my business, I did really fairly standard freelance writer stuff. So I wrote mostly for corporate clients. I had a lot of businesses that would hire me to write different kinds of things for them. And I managed to bring in a very consistent $3,000 to $4,000 a month, working about 5 to 6 hours a day. So I did have paid childcare so that I would have that time to write, but there was always that struggle of finding time to write on my personal projects. So when I started a personal blog about my kid with special needs, that was not at all, by the way, a blog that was supposed to be monetized. This was more like Abby needs to stay sane kind of thing. And I've always worked on my own projects, like book length projects and things like that. I was doing because I wanted to and not because somebody was paying me to. So those were the kinds of things that I did when I did not have paid childcare in place. And I got really good at carving out these blocks of time. I also got really good at doing things in smaller blocks of time during the day, because it's hard to find, great big blocks of time when you're also responsible for tiny humans.
Right.
A couple of years ago, right around the time that all of my kids were going to be in full day programs, and I thought that I would have more time in my life, my middle son, who's my kid with special needs, was diagnosed with leukemia. And that was horrible and terrifying and really, really bad. And for 2.5 years, I didn't work at all. And then one day my kid got better. The thing is that when my kid got better, I was not quite better. I was still very much in the throes of PTSD and not really functioning. And I had to figure out, a way to kind of pull myself out of this horrible depression that kept me from doing anything at all. For me, the thing that pulled me out was I was in a Facebook group for moms of kids with cancer. And these were women who really needed a new way to bring in income for their families. Cancer doesn't let you have a full-time job. When you have a kid with cancer, even when they're better and theoretically back in school, they're missing a lot of school. If there's chickenpox in the school, your kid's immunity is weakened, they're not going to school. They get exhausted really fast, they need that time off. So these were women who were looking for ways to bring in income, and I started very informally teaching them how they could get started in freelance writing. And I loved that. And it gave me a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and it pulled me out of this horrible place that I had been stuck in. And that's when I came up with the idea for Successful Freelance Mom. And I started this whole thing where I was teaching women how to get started in freelance writing. And then on the side, I also continued working with my clients and managed those two things. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. So I have a lot to say about time. And Susie, I'm going to jump in. And if you have stuff that you want to break in with, please feel free.
Yeah, okay. Definitely. I love that. That's awesome.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk about also books and websites. And if you have questions about anything, you can always drop it in the comments and I will follow up. Even if I don't do it immediately after we finish, I will get back in there in the next day or two and drop you in names of everything. So don't worry. If I talk about it, if you don't know how to spell a URL or whatever, I will fill in that information afterwards. So let's dive in. There are a lot of people who think that people like I don't know, the president or the prime minister of a country or the CEO of a big business, people think that they have a hard job. And every time I hear that, I think to myself, dude, that guy has a staff. He has people who are experts in every single area, who prepare briefs with only the most relevant information. He has all this support. Those people don't have hard jobs. We have hard jobs. We're moms. We have kids who don't sleep. And we have kids who only eat fish sticks, except when they eat everything except fish sticks, right? So you know what that's like. You know how hard this job is. And you're supposed to find time to write along with everything else. So how do you do that? Especially when you're a mom of small children, the very, very first thing that you need to know is where your time is really going. Because when you have these small humans you're responsible for, it's hard to know where your time is actually going. There's that saying, the days are long, the years are short. You get to the end of the week and you're like, what the heck happened here? Where did my week go? So in order to know exactly where your time is really going, you have to track it. So if you've ever tried to lose weight, you've probably tried tracking your food. Or if you've tried to, stick to a budget, you're tracking what you're spending. So tracking your time is an incredible tool that will give you an amazing amount of insight. It is one of the most effective and surprising things that you can do. So when you want to make over your time, it starts with knowing where you're actually spending your time right now. I promise you, where you think you're spending your time now has very little to do with reality. We tell ourselves an enormous amount of stories about time and we believe them in our hearts. And it's only when we track our time that we find out how untrue they are. So I'll tell you what happened to me the first time I tracked my time. It was about 10 years ago. So I had 4 kids and I was pregnant with the 5th. And I was sure in my head that I was spending like 10 hours a week cooking meals for my family, doing laundry, those kinds of things. And I was looking for a way to get this extra 10 hours in my week so that I could invest it in personal writing projects. And I knew, I'm spending my time in the kitchen and in the laundry room, right? So I came up with this brilliant idea. I was going to order in dinner twice a week and send the laundry out once a week. And I was going to buy back time, right?
Yes.
It was going to be great. Fantastic theory. Here's the thing. I was fortunate enough to come across an amazing book by an incredibly smart woman named Laura Vanderkam. And the book that I initially read was called 168 Hours. You Have More Time Than You Think. She later wrote a second book. She's written a couple of books, but another one of her really excellent books is called I Know How She Does It, where she interviews 100 women who make over $100,000 a year and have children. Phenomenal. And she interviews these people and talks about how they spend their time. So 168 hours, if you don't know, that's how many hours there are in a week. Okay. When you start thinking about time within the context of a week instead of a day, things become a lot clearer and a lot easier. If I tell you to find 2 hours today to do something, you're going to be like, yeah, I don't have 2 hours. Thanks. But if I tell you, all right, you got to find 2 hours over the course of this week and you put all 168 hours into play, now you have options because you can break that 2 hours up over the course of a week. So we get a lot of people who say things like, well, I work 100 hours a week or my spouse works 100 hours a week. I just want you to think about the math here for a second. 100 hours a week is literally 20 hours a day, 5 days a week, which means you're starting at 7 a.m. and finishing at 3 a.m. So I don't know anyone who does that. Maybe you do. If you know somebody who consistently claims to do that, I'm going to say that person's a liar. Nobody works. Very few people who are not like heads of state work 100 hours a week consistently. We all have crazy weeks in our lives, but we don't really do that. Anyway, I started tracking my time. Laura Vanderkam recommends, and I have since adopted this as my personal philosophy. I make all of my students do it. The very first thing is to track your time for a full week, for a full 168 hours.
How
it means
do you
that
do it?
Right. So the how on that is every 30 to 60 minutes, you take like 5 to 10 seconds, that's it, and jot down what you're doing. And you can do this in the way that's easiest for you. For some people, it's paper and pen. For some people, it's the Notes app in your phone. For some people, it's a tracker. I have a Google spreadsheet that I share. And I have a workbook and I'm going to give you the link to that workbook that's going to take you through this entire process. And So literally every 30 to 60 minutes, you're taking 5 to 10 seconds to jot down what you're doing. The trick is you have to write down what you're actually doing. So just like with that food journal, if you only write the carrots and you don't write the ice cream, it doesn't work, right? So if you say, well, I'm sitting at my desk, therefore I'm working, but what you're actually doing is hanging out on Facebook, you know, it's important to be honest. So I know for me, it was really eye-opening to see that when I tracked my time that first time, I would go to my office and sit down at my desk. And in my head, I am now at work. So that counts as my hours that I'm working, right? But here's what would happen. I'd go online and my brother would see that I was online and he'd message me, hey, what's going on? We need to get mom a birthday present. And we'd spend like 10 or 15 minutes, figuring out what are we getting mom for her birthday. And it's not that that's not important and that I shouldn't spend time on that, but I'm telling myself that I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing something else. So remember how I thought I was spending all this time cooking and doing laundry? Turns out I don't do that very much. So I don't know how my family has survived all of these years, but I definitely do not spend a lot of time cooking and at this point I spend extremely little time because I've made my children do all the chores. But back then, right? You got to train them. You got to train them young. At the time, where was all my time going? And I figured it out. And this is ridiculously embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
What did you do?
You know the game Words with Friends on the phone, right?
You spend all your time doing that?
I spent a lot of time doing that, it turns out. So in my head, you play your turn on Words with Friends, and that's like a minute, right? Except if you have 37 games going, it's like 37 minutes, right? And if you do that like twice a day, that's an enormous amount of time. I wasn't paying attention to it because it didn't feel like a lot of time because I wouldn't play necessarily all 37 turns at once, but I would play them, during the day. I would take 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, whatever. And it didn't feel like 10 or 15 minutes because I'm just playing a turn or two, right? So I made this one small tweak, and it's not what you think. I didn't delete the game because that's just crazy talk. I moved the game. I moved it from my phone to my iPad because I use those two devices in very different ways. My phone is with me all the time. I have 5 kids, and at this point, they all text. And I have a husband who travels a lot for work, and he's calling me. My phone is with me all the time. And if the game is on the phone, I don't believe in willpower. I'm going to play it, right? Yeah. My iPad is something that I only use in very specific situations, like when I'm on the couch watching TV or when I'm on an airplane, when I'm not doing work, right? Yeah. So if I have the game on my iPad, I can still enjoy it, but I can enjoy it at the right time where it's not cutting into my time. So strategy number 1 for writing consistently when you're home with 8 kids is to track your time for a full week. And I know that some of you are thinking like, I don't want to. That doesn't sound fun. Right? Here's the thing. When you know where your time is going, you can make smart decisions about how you want to use your time and where you're going to find the time that you want to use for writing. You won't be making incorrect assumptions and cutting out the wrong things, those things that you think are eating up your time. Like if I had gone ahead with my plan and done the ordering in the dinner and the sending out of the laundry, it would not have actually given me back the time I wanted. It would have added to my costs and it would have given me some time, but not nearly the amount of time that I thought it would.
I like that.
And I'm obviously oversimplifying because Words with Friends was not the only thing that was eating up my time, but it's such a clear example of a thing that you don't think of as taking up a large amount of time that actually is.
Right.
So when you start writing all this down, you start to see it. And I will tell you, I've worked with, over 1,000 women over the past couple of years, and I have never, ever had a single person go through the time tracking exercise and come out of it saying, well, I didn't learn anything. Everyone learns something. Everyone finds something useful. You get fascinating insights. Sometimes they're as simple as, oh, now I know why I'm so tired all the time, because in my mind, I'm going to bed at 10 or 11. But what actually happens is at 10 or 11, I start the evening routine of like cleaning up the kitchen and starting a load of laundry and all these things. I'm actually only getting into bed at 1:30 in the morning. This is directly related to why I am tired.
So tired. Yeah, because I'm in bed at 1:30. Yeah. No, you play Words with Friends. I check my Facebook comments all the time. So
there you go.
Like that would be hard to delete Facebook from my phone.
It would be really hard, and I don't know if I would recommend that for a business because you do need on top of that, but you could put you could put bright lines around it, like I only do this at this time. Again, you're relying a little bit there on willpower, which is harder. There are also apps that can restrict things for you.
Or I can just make the notifications not pop up, right?
There's that too, where you have set times of day that you're going in and you're not being called in by those notifications all the time.
Exactly.
So, like I said, we're gonna give you the link afterwards. I've got a whole workbook for you that's gonna take you through that process of tracking time. But I want to talk to you about the second strategy that you can use and how it ties in to this whole writing more consistently. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to create some tiny habits. What the heck are tiny habits, right? So let's take a step back and talk about first, what are habits in general? So when I talk about habits, I'm not talking about good habits like eating vegetables or bad habits like smoking. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things you do without thinking about them. So for example, when you get in your car, you put on your seatbelt automatically. You don't think about it. And in fact, you've probably had the experience of driving when you suddenly, like, you can't remember having put on your seatbelt, but it's on, so you did. But you can't like pinpoint in your memory that you did, like that remembering doing it. It's something that you do and you do it automatically. You don't think about it at all, but it's done. When I go upstairs to bed, no matter how tired I am, I brush my teeth. When I get in bed, I can't remember having brushed my teeth, but I can feel that my teeth are clean and I can taste the toothpaste. So clearly I did, right? Those are habits. Those are things that you do without thinking about them. So now, what's a tiny habit? So a tiny habit is a concept that comes from a very smart Stanford professor named B.J. Fogg. And it's the action that you take, a tiny, small action that you take to help you establish the larger habit that you want to have in your life. And the key to tiny habits is, can you guess, that they're tiny, right? So let's say that we'll start with like a regular one, and then we'll tie it into the writing. So let's say that you want to establish the habit of flossing your teeth every night. We're all supposed to do it and nobody wants to, right? So we don't. But what if flossing your teeth was so automatic that you did it without thinking about it and it wasn't like this chore, right? That would be cool. Tiny habits can help you get to that point. So a tiny habit is built on an anchor. An anchor is something that you know you already do every day at a set time or in a specific place, like brushing your teeth in the bathroom at night before you go to bed. So that's a really good anchor for flossing because you're already in the right place where you want to do it and you're already dealing with teeth, right? So a tiny habit would be, after I brush my teeth, I'm going to floss one tooth. Not I'm going to floss my whole whatever, it's going to be a whole thing. I'm going to get in there, one tooth, done. That's all I have to do. And then this is kind of the most critical part of the tiny habit. So there's the anchor, the brushing your teeth, and then the actual tiny thing of the flossing one tooth. And then there's the celebration, right? Celebrating your win there. And you have to have that because it's part of what helps literally rewire your brain and get you all excited, dopamine and whatever. Yeah. And this can be like a physical thing. Like I like to do these little dances that embarrass my children because it's fun. It could be like fist pumping. It could be saying something out loud like, I am so awesome, or whatever it is, blowing yourself a kiss in the mirror, something that you do to celebrate your win there. Okay. So there's those three pieces of that tiny habit, right?
Okay.
So what's awesome about tiny habits is you can use them in all these different areas of your life and they are extremely effective. So let's say you want to be sure that you're writing every day or every weekday, whatever the amount of time that you decide that you want to be writing. So you think about the anchors that you have going on for you on those days. If you're like me, when you come down in the morning, there could be, chaos in the house, blood over here, whatever. You're going for the coffee machine. I know I am.
I don't talk to anybody until I have my cup of coffee.
Correct. And they know at this point, it's been many, like they know to just don't even be in my way, like clear that path so that I can make it straight to the Nespresso machine and hit the button. Yeah. So let's say your ultimate goal is you want to be writing 1,000 words every day for your blog. Yeah. Literally the worst thing you could do is say every morning, I'm going to write 1,000 words after I drink my coffee, because here's what's going to happen when you do that. You're going to have your coffee and you're going to think, oh, holy crap, 1,000 words. I don't want to do that. And you're not going to. It's like working out. Like if you say to yourself, yeah, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. and I'm going to run 5K. No, you're not. No,
Oh,
you're not.
that's too much. That's
No,
too high of an
too
expectation.
much. Too much. So you want a tiny habit. So what you actually do is you say, after I drink my coffee, I'm going to write one sentence. That's it. That's all you have to do to win.
Yeah.
And that's going to become super automatic for you. It's going to feel weird if you skip it. Like if you get in your car and you're driving and for whatever reason, something distracted you, so you didn't put your seatbelt on, and you get halfway down the street and you're like, oh my God, my seatbelt's not on. Like, that's weird, right? So you immediately stop and you put it on. That's what it's going to be like if you don't do your sentence. After a couple of days of doing this one sentence after coffee, if something happened one morning and you got distracted and you couldn't immediately sit down, you might get 15, 20 minutes out. But all of a sudden, you are literally going to stop dead in your tracks and say, wait, I didn't write my sentence. And you're going to stop what you're doing and go sit down and write it. And when you've written one sentence, you've won. And it's going to be easier to keep going. But you don't have to keep going from day one. You're going to build that habit over time.
Okay. I like
and
that.
It's really, really important. Yes, anybody can do one sentence, We can all do one sentence, and we can do it without willpower or motivation. I don't need to be motivated to write one sentence.
Right.
You can totally do that regardless of how you're feeling. And then after you do your one sentence, you want to celebrate. Okay, so you got to celebrate your win. You got to do your little finger dance or whatever it is, do the thing so that you're feeling good.
Because we talked about this just before we went live, and I kept telling you, I'm like, I need motivation. And you're like, it's not motivation that you need.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, because otherwise, if I'm just going to wait for the motivation to be inspired to write, then it's just not going to come.
Right. No, that's a big thing. People love to talk about, well, I don't have inspiration.
Yeah. It's like,
forget about it.
It's an excuse.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the greatest excuses we give ourselves. But if you stop waiting around for inspiration and you create the habit of every morning I sit down and write, inspiration is going to learn, this is when I need to show up.
Right.
And you're going to see it happen over time, and you're going to be like, this is magic. But if you create that habit of every day I sit down and I do this at this time, or after I do this other thing, it's going to train your body that that's what you do. It's going to train your mind that that's what you do.
Okay.
So that's tiny habits. But then there's one other strategy, our third strategy that we can use to help ensure that we're writing more consistently, even when we have young kids. And this is the hard one. This is being honest about your priorities and your time.
Okay.
So for the next week, I want you all to try something. Every time you want to say, I don't have time to work on my blog, or I don't have time to fold the laundry, or I don't have time to read this book with my kid, or I don't have time to go out to lunch with my friend. Don't say that. Instead, I want you to say, it's not a priority for me to work on my business, to fold the laundry, to read to my kid, to go out to lunch. Say that out loud and see how it feels in your mouth, in your heart, in your mind. What does that do to you when you say that? Because for me, when I say things like, it's not a priority to read to my kid, I'm like, what? Yes, it is.
I just say that? Oh my gosh.
Right? On the other hand, for me, folding the laundry is not a priority. Absolutely 100. I mean, you already know that, like, I don't spend a lot of time on it and I make my kids do it. But I will tell you that this started a long time ago. 15 years ago, my husband said to me, I don't like the way you fold my shirts. And I said, you sound like a man who wants to fold his own shirts. And for many years, he really did fold all the laundry in our house. Now he travels a lot and he's just not here to do it. So I make my kids do it, but when that wasn't an option because they were smaller, laundry did not really get folded in our house because guess what? It's not a priority for me. It's literally not a priority. Like, I don't buy clothes that wrinkle for myself. And if other people in this house choose to own clothing that does wrinkle, that's their issue. We didn't own an iron until like a year ago. I'll wear clothes out of the laundry basket if I have to. It doesn't bother me.
Right.
So you have to choose the things that are and are not your priorities, and you have to be honest about it. So we all have different priorities. For you, folding laundry might be a really big one, and that's okay. But own that and understand that it's going to come at the expense of other things.
Right.
Like, my husband's the kind of person who can't go to bed if there are dirty dishes in the sink. I have never once in 43 years of living lost sleep over dirty dishes in the sink. It's just not a thing for me. Like, I know you guys all can't wait to come over to my house because it's clearly disgusting, right? But
You're
But we
so
all have priorities. I
yeah.
love to read with my kids. And I'm happy to read to them, to be read to by them, or to sit and read next to each other separately. Any of those things I am happy to spend time with my children doing.
Mhm.
I would rather stab myself in the eye with a fork than play Monopoly with my kids. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Everybody has their things that they love,
There you
and
go.
that's
And
priorities. Yeah.
owning that has made an enormous difference in my life. So decide on the things that are a priority and that are not a priority for you. And it's okay if your priorities don't match what society thinks they should be, or even what other people in your family think that they should be.
Yeah.
It's hard, but you have to be true to what your priorities are. And, the people around you are going to have to kind of buy into that at some
That's
point. And
that's okay. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah,
is
I
okay. It's
I love that you
absolutely.
have the laundry thing with your husband because I had the same thing with John. Like I was doing his socks, I was folding them nicely. It's the sock thing. And then he's like, I'm like, do you like your socks rolled like this? They're a little ball. He's like, I hate that. I hate that you roll my socks. I'm like, you do them. I'm done. I'm not folding your laundry anymore. So
That's
he does it.
great.
He does
That's
his own
great.
clothes, and it's awesome.
It is.
So
It's amazing. Look,
yeah.
another thing. It's not a priority for me to peel potatoes. My family has learned to eat potatoes with the peel on. French fries, mashed potato, whatever I'm making with potatoes, I'm not peeling them. If
Yeah.
somebody else in my family decides that's a priority and they want to peel the potatoes, great.
Go ahead.
I'm not ever going to do it. If you're honest with yourself and you think that you're supposed to play dolls with your kid or trucks or whatever it is, and you hate doing that, it's okay to say, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
It is a priority for me to color with you. Like, I want to spend time with you. It is a priority for me to spend time with you, but we're not going to do it in a thing that I hate.
Right, right.
So,
Like you love the reading. John loves the reading. He reads to the kids. He loves
mm-hmm.
that. I find it boring. So, but that's
Right.
the
Oh, I
thing.
get
I
you.
I love the arts and crafts. Like yesterday, we spent the
Right.
whole day doing arts and crafts. We were painting, and then I got all the food out, and we were making like houses with peanut butter and chips and chocolate chips. So that's like I'm like I really like this. I just don't like the
Right.
reading, and John loves the reading. So it's great that we have our different things. And thank you. Thanks for the
Right.
okay that I have a priority that I like to do this thing with the kids and the girls love it. And then John likes to do something else with them.
Absolutely. And so sometimes it's the idea of writing or, working on something that's appealing to us,
Yeah.
but the thing itself is not really what we want to be doing. So you have to figure out what your priorities are and then acknowledge that the things that aren't priorities really aren't priorities. And remember too, we're in seasons of life. So these things will change over time. So, now my kids are 9, 13, 15, 18, and 19 and a half, right? So right now, a big priority is family meal times and family meetings and talking to our kids. But when your kids are 6 months and 2 years old, they have no idea if you're eating a family meal. They literally do not know. So family meals don't have to be a priority for you just because a book or, some expert says that they should be. It doesn't have to be if it's not going to work for your life right now. It's okay to feed your kids when they're hungry and then have dinner later with your spouse. You can do the things that are going to work for you. You should make feeding your children a priority, absolutely, but it doesn't have to be in a way that everybody else expects it to be.
Right.
And it's also okay to eat when your kids eat and then put them to bed and then have your writing time and let your husband eat alone. That's okay too. If you decide my writing is a priority and it's important to me, and this is the only time that I can do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it. And that means that you, my darling, are going to have to sit alone and eat your dinner alone and not whine about it and, deal with it. That's okay. You have to decide on your priorities and then you have to own those decisions. So that's really the third strategy. So you've got these 3 strategies for finding, being able to write more consistently, even when you have more kids. So that's tracking your time so that you know where you're spending your time. And then that's creating tiny habits so that you will be actually sitting down to do the act of writing more consistently.
Yeah.
And then it's, owning your priorities and your decisions and knowing what those things are that you say you want to spend time on them. Are they real priorities for you?
So we had a question yesterday where I think the last one ties really well into that. Like you decide your priorities. Okay, I'm going to write. There's other things that I'm going to say no to. So I say yes to these things that are most important to me. How do you deal with that mom guilt that comes with it? That just like
Yeah.
overwhelming guilt that we just like put on ourselves all the time.
Right. So that's a really
To
big
admit
one.
it.
So I once had a woman who go through, tracking her time. And then she came to me and she said, so I discovered this thing. So she had, a couple of kids and one of them was a baby who was still nursing. And she said to me, I discovered where my time is going. After I nurse the baby, then I hold her for like 40 minutes and I should be using that time. And I was, whoa, stop. No.
Yeah.
Holding a baby after nursing is not a thing that you should not be doing. Like that's a really important thing.
Right.
But then I want you to acknowledge you are spending time with your children.
Right.
You are spending that time dedicated with your children. When you start looking at your time and you see how much time you do spend with your children, it's probably significantly, it's more and less than you think. Like you're probably not spending a solid 8 hours a day, 7 days a week playing hands-on with your children because God help you, like I don't know how anybody does that. Like literally, I have no idea how daycare providers do that whole
They're
thing
amazing.
because incredible. I have tremendous respect for them. Could not do it. Absolutely not. But you are spending time with your kids. So pay attention to the time that you are spending with them. If you have small children, they're not taking baths by themselves. You're in there with them. You are spending time with your kids. So it is okay and even necessary, I would say, to spend some time not with your children or not doing everything for your children. You have to encourage that independence. Obviously, it's different when you have a 2-month-old versus a 4-year-old, right? There are different needs. But again, there are seasons of life and everything lasts only a season. Sometimes those seasons feel really long, but they do pass. That's the thing about them.
I like that. Yeah, I love that my daughter now is getting older and she can do workbooks. So yesterday I went to Walgreens and I bought these workbooks and they love them. So we're just sitting at the kitchen table doing these workbooks and I'm like, I think I found my groove. I think I found my thing that I want to do with the girls because I do not like playing with stuffed animals. Like,
right?
It's just not. Right? I don't like sitting there playing with the stuffed animals because she just tells me what to do with the stuffed animals and how to play. And I'm like, I'm not. Okay, what is this one called? What is this one do? So it's nice to find your groove and be like, okay, this is where I'm gonna enjoy and dedicate my time and help and teach you. But I don't have to love everything. That's okay.
Correct. And there's another trick that I would encourage you to kind of embrace. And that's sometimes, let's say you're pulling out the laptop and you're trying to do like this one thing that should take 10 minutes and it's taking 40 minutes because literally every 2 seconds your kid is back over like, mommy this, mommy that. So here's my tip. Shut the laptop and go be with your kid. Go all in on your kid because here's what's going to happen. You're going to go all in. You're going to put the laptop away. You're going to go all in on your kid. Your kid is going to fill up maybe 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, maybe even 45 minutes. But your kid is going to fill up and then your kid is going to disengage and walk away. And then you're going to have your half hour to do your thing that you wanted to do. Fill them up and let them kind of break that contact, and they will.
Very smart. Very smart. Otherwise, they're going to be nagging you, and you're not going to get anything done
the whole time. And it's not. You're not doing this, and you're not doing like you're not satisfying either need, and it's just not good.
And your stress is just going through the roof.
Those absolutely.
Are such amazing tips, Abby. I am definitely going to do tip number 2. Well, tip number 1, I'll do that because I feel like I know where my time is going. But I'm going to do your workbook, and I'm going to send you my results. All right, hold me accountable.
Awesome. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. One of my favorite things to do and to help people really look at their time and see where is it going? How can we improve this? Because there are these hidden blocks of time in your week that you're not aware of, and you're going to find them when you track your time. You're going to find these like crazy little things that, oh, I had no idea that I was spending time on this, and I actually don't want to spend time on that. And sometimes there are things that, there are things that we have to do in our lives. And there are things that we can actually say, I no longer want to spend time on this thing. I want to free that time up.
Right.
I also want to talk about a couple of strategies okay. So I really think that in order to start a business, you need to have a minimum of 7 to 10 hours in a week. But I really, truly believe that with just 7 to 10 hours a week, you can get started. So let's talk about some real life strategies on where do I find 7 to 10 hours? If I'm the person who's responsible for like the care and feeding of these tiny humans, all the time, how do I find 7 to 10 hours? So we're starting by looking for 7 to 10 hours in your week that you are not the person responsible for the care and feeding of the tiny humans, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay for childcare. You can get creative, but you have to be willing to get creative. Yeah. So let's say you know another mom who has kids similar ages. If you could trade 2 days a week, you take 4 hours one day, she takes 4 hours one day. You both just got a 4-hour block of time. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now you need another 3 to 6 hours in your week to come up with your 7 to 10. Where do you find that? So if you have a spouse or a partner or some other human who shares the responsibility of these tiny humans with you, weekends are a great time because, again, your spouse, as much as he might want you to think, does not work 100 hours a week, most likely. Maybe you married the president. I don't know. But if you didn't marry the president, they shouldn't be working 100 hours a week, and they shouldn't be telling you that they're working 100 hours a week. And even if perhaps 4 hours on the weekend is not what they wanted to be, like childcare is not what they wanted to be doing, you didn't make these kids alone. Right. So
share this
there you go. And the biggest thing, share the responsibility. And the biggest thing I say here to moms, because you're moms and you're the only person in the whole house who knows where you keep the ice. An actual question my children have asked me. So what you do is you say to your, it's not a, I'm asking permission. It's, I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen on Saturday or on Sunday, or maybe both days. I'm going to be up at 6:30. I'm going to be out the door at 7. I'll be back at 11:30. Yeah. And here's my biggest tip. Don't take your phone. You can leave a note that says, I'm at Starbucks. Here's the phone number there. If there's an actual emergency, they'll call the Starbucks, but they're not going to call the Starbucks to ask where the ice is. Because, you know, they'll figure out that they'll just look dumb in public. So you can leave the house without your phone. Yeah. It's really rare that there are genuine emergencies. And in a true emergency, someone will find a way to get a hold of you. But if you leave the house, if you make a habit of leaving the house for 4 hours on a weekend morning and you carve out that time for yourself and you say, this is for me, this is investing in my business and in our future, that's legit. That. And if you, you want to, I don't want to like get into anybody's marriage, but if you truly have a partner who can't get on board with that, I would say take a strong look at your partnership there.
Right. And that's what John and I did too. Initially, when he was still corporate, I would take Thursday evenings. I'm like, hey, I need some time for myself. I need to leave the house because if I try to do some work while I'm at the house, I hear them screaming downstairs. Right. They're calling me. I can't focus. Even though he's playing with them, they're like rowdy and so on. I can't focus with all the noise. So I need to leave, put myself in a different environment. And then I can do my writing. So
100%. Another thing that I did when my kids were certain ages is hiring middle schoolers to take toddlers for stroller walks in climates where that's a possibility. If you can hire a 4th, 5th, 6th grader to take your toddler for a walk in the stroller and maybe to the park, that's an option for a lot of people that you don't think of typically. They can handle the one kid, particularly if it's in a stroller for a walk or in a very close park. Yeah. And you don't have to pay them as much as you pay older babysitters. Yeah, because certainly if you have,
that's what they call them.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If you have an infant or if you have a kid with special needs, then you need someone older who can be a little bit more responsible, and that is going to cost you more. But you don't have to have 8 hours of babysitting. You can get by with an hour every evening kind of thing. As long as you're then using that time for what you say you want to use it for, which is the writing, and not like for the washing the dishes.
Okay, so now that we're moms, we have these you finally carved out like 1 hour or 2 hours. How do you make sure that you actually utilize that time correctly and you're not sitting there for 30 minutes checking Facebook? What is your technique to get in the zone?
So what I do personally is I sit down, so my work week is a little bit different because I don't live in the United States. So I live in Israel, and the work week here is Sunday through Thursday. So that's what I use for myself. So on a Thursday, right around now, when I'm wrapping up my week, this is the time that I kind of plan out what has to happen next week. So I always start with the brain dump, writing down all of the things. And writing down for me is using the notes app on my phone and my computer, and it syncs back and forth, and it just makes me happy. So all during the week, I've jotted down little things. And then I have, a system in place where on Thursday afternoons, I gather all of that stuff and I figure out all of the things that I need to do. And then I personally assign each item Okay, so I work typically in 25-minute blocks because I'm a big fan of the Pomodoro technique where you work for 25 minutes and then you take your 5-minute break, right?
Yeah.
So I assign everything on my list 1, 2, or 3 25-minute blocks of time. That's how long it's going to take me to work on this task. And anything that's going to take more than 3 25-minute blocks of time, that's a task that's too big. I need to break it down some more because it's going to be overwhelming for me and I'm not going to do it. So that's number one. And then when I know, okay, so these are the things that I have. So now it's really going to be based on how much time I have. Oh, I have an hour. Great. I can do 2 25-minute things. What are they going to, like, what are the top things? And I also kind of prioritize that list. Like, these are the things that need to happen by Monday, by Tuesday kind of thing. So I don't necessarily say I have to do this at 8 a.m., but I know that by the end of the day, this thing needs to get done.
I love that.
Yeah. Another big thing, because you mentioned, the noise bothering you. I have 5 kids, right? So I'm a huge fan of noise canceling headphones. And okay, this is crazy. I realize this, but I actually, when my parents got me these for a gift because they're awesome, I got wired noise canceling headphones, not Bluetooth noise canceling headphones. And I did that on purpose. I wanted to be tethered to my laptop.
Oh yeah. Like physically.
I put them on. Right. I'm physically tethered and then I'm not going to get up. I also use there's a little Chrome extension. It's called Noisely, Noisli. You can search that in like the Google Chrome extension store or whatever it's called. And it does background noise. So I'll put on the noise canceling headphones. I put on the background noise and it has a 25-minute timer built right into the extension. So you hit the timer and you go, and then at the end of the 25 minutes, the sound stops. So that's your signal to take a break.
Ooh, I like it.
It's awesome. And for me, the background noise really helps me get right into where I'm trying to focus.
Right, because it's just enough noise so it like distracts you from thinking about
other
things. But it's
like I use the whole rain and railroad tracks and whatever. Like, it's this mix that I put together of a couple of different sounds that they have built into the extension. It's fantastic.
I do like a cityscape or like a coffee shop.
They have the coffee shop one. Yeah, I tried that, and for me, I know a lot of people like that. For me, it was distracting. I had a lot of trouble, but the train tracks and the rain and the wind, love those. Like, they just get me right in the zone, and I'm there. So yeah.
Those are such great tips. I love these, Abby. So practical. Love it. Okay, so people have some questions. We can go through some of the questions. If you guys watching live, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm seeing amazing comments. Can you see some of the comments, Abby?
Maybe if I go.
Okay, so I'll talk some of it. That's awesome.
Sorry.
I like that. Hyde says me too. People say, I love your attitude. You made me think about, oh yeah, did I marry the president? Okay, cool.
That's awesome.
Crying over the ice comment. People are loving this. Okay. Brooke says Brooke is pregnant with baby number 3, so she says this is incredibly helpful. She's having well, sorry to call you out, Brooke, but like the mom brain, the mom fog.
Oh, So I literally write down everything. I have trained my children to understand that if they don't see me write it down, and again, write it down means put it in the notes app in my phone or directly into the calendar. So another thing, again, my kids are older, so we have a shared family Google Calendar. We call it the Parents Family Calendar, right? So so my kids know it's on their phones too, and they know if they have a thing like that they need me to drive them, it needs to be on the calendar. And if it's not, I am not going to do it. And if they don't see me write a thing down that they need, I need, money for this thing at school. I need you to sign this form. I need you to take me to this place, right? If you didn't see me write it down, assume it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So that's a big thing. And I learned many, many years ago, side story, but I served in the Israeli army as a soldier 100 years ago. And one of the first things they teach you is the opposite of forgetting is writing it down.
Okay.
When you write it down, you don't have to remember it because it's written down for you.
Right. And maybe when you don't have little kids, you just tell your husband, like, he's asking you to do something, like, if you don't see me writing it, does that help?
Exactly. I mean, I definitely tell my husband knows also, like, we've had many discussions about this, you didn't see me write it down. I'm not going to do it. Like, just telling me something when my hands are busy and I can't write it down. Yeah. If my kids want different things from the grocery store, text me, text it to me. Because if it's in writing, then I can put it on. By the way, I also no longer do grocery shopping. I do all of my grocery shopping online. If you have that option, I highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, there
Highly
is
recommend it.
no honor in going to the grocery store.
No, none.
No, like 2 months ago, we started doing Instacart, and it is amazing
Mm-hmm.
where they just deliver their groceries to me, and they go
Yep.
to Aldi, which is, if you guys,
Nice.
Aldi, right? So
Yeah.
it's inexpensive, but it's not the
Right.
most wonderful experience. It's kind of stressful to go to the Aldi store. Like sometimes things
Sure.
aren't there, things are out of order. It's not the wonderful Target experience where you get your Starbucks and your little dollar store and whatnot. Like, oh, it's like a treat to go out. No, Aldi is like you go to get the best deals. So it's so
Yeah.
wonderful to pay somebody else to go to Aldi for me and get the groceries. It just saves so much time. Really amazing. So yes, all about the grocery shopping.
I want
Okay.
to give them also the URL where they can find the
Yeah.
workbook too.
I'm going
So
to just share it
you're going to
here.
drop it in? Awesome. You're
Yeah.
awesome.
Successfulfreelancemom.com/SAMB for Start a Mom blog. So that is where they can get the workbook.
It's gonna, yeah, this is the workbook that it's gonna take them through tracking their time so that they can find that extra 7 to 10 hours that's hiding in their week somewhere. So yeah,
I love
you
it.
want to find your 7 to 10 hours, go grab the workbook. It's gonna walk you through that entire process. It's gonna be awesome. And you're gonna learn so much from it. I promise you, you're gonna find these insights and you're gonna be like, I had no idea that I was spending time on this thing that truly doesn't matter to me, and that I'm not spending time on this other thing that I say matters to me. So.
Super smart. So we have a couple more minutes. I have some questions
Sure.
that came in yesterday. Okay, we did the mom guilt one.
It's a big one.
Yeah, very good. How do you keep your kids occupied when you're working on your blog or on your business?
Okay, so when you have small children, the reality is you're not going to have 6 hours of uninterrupted time. That's just not a thing. Like when they're with you, you really do have to learn to work in these 25-minute blocks of time. So that's why I find it super helpful to break tasks down into their smaller component parts, and so that they can fit into those 25-minute blocks. So it depends on the ages of your kids, obviously. If you have kids, so we for many years had old laptops. Like our kids never wanted like toy laptops. They wanted our old non-working laptops that they could pretend with. I don't know, that it interested them a lot more than pretend or toy laptops that had different kinds of functionality. They weren't interested. But it's finding the activity that they will do. So that's going to vary by kid. It's for some kids it's Legos. For some kids it's clay. You have the things that you pull out when you really have to, like you've really got to get some. So Susie, you mentioned doing the arts and crafts. I hate that stuff. It makes me cry. But I had the box that I would pull out when I really needed them to leave me alone. So like the glitter and the glue and the paper and the things, right? So
scissors.
Yeah, the scissors. Oh God, so bad. So
yeah,
they knew.
The 3-year-old took her hair because her hair was in her face. So she didn't cut the bangs. She just took a piece back here and she's like,
sweet.
So I saw a piece of hair on the ground. I'm like, where did this come from? So later I'm like, why is this so short? So yeah, got it.
Oh my goodness.
So now I have to watch her.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So I would say maybe take the scissors out of the kit, but but yeah, there are things that you can give them that you only pull out when you really do need to focus for that kind of extended period of time. You know your kids and you know what will and won't hold their interest, but I mean, reality is nothing is going to hold the interest of a 2-year-old for more than about 25 minutes.
That's very true. Very true.
So you have to work with what you have.
Yeah. Switching with another mom. I love that tip.
Like
trading kids for a little bit. And then your kids have friends for those 4 hours,
right,
and they're spending their energy so that when you have your kids back, they're a little bit more tired than they would have been if they were home with you. I also love mom's helper. That's really helpful. And leaving the house, asking your spouse or the other person that's helping you raise these kids, or mom-in-law or whatnot, so that you can leave the house and go work. And if you can't leave the house, we even had another great tip was having the noise canceling headphones.
That was it was the greatest birthday present ever. It was really awesome to get.
Is there like special brand that you use, or is just any?
So mine are the Bose. My dad is really into like electronics and stuff, and he was like, these are the ones that Consumer Reports says are the best. And men of a certain generation and their Consumer Reports fixation, right? So that's my dad. He's awesome. And yeah, so these are like state of the art. What app or tool do I recommend for Pomodoro? That is a great question. So I use the Noisily app. I actually don't use the app. I use the Chrome extension. They do have a paid app.
Okay.
I don't use that because I'm not using it on my phone. I use it in my browser. It's the Chrome extension, Noisli. You can just add it in, and so it comes with the background sounds and the 25-minute countdown timer. That is the tool I most recommend.
That is awesome. All right. So Denise says, are there any writing templates that you recommend? I have some writing templates that I give to my new mom bloggers. Is there any kind of structure that you use when you start writing an article?
So I don't have templates for stuff like that. What I do recommend is if you've done something a couple of times is to create your own templates. I'm definitely a fan of that. Like any task that I'm doing more than once, then it becomes worth it to take the time to create a personalized template that's going to help you do that work most efficiently. And sometimes a template can be as simple as, headline, intro, body,
exactly.
Just having that stuff on the paper kind of gets your brain into the right feeling. But I'm sorry, I don't have templates.
No, that's smart too. Just having the okay, I know this is my intro. This is where I kind of explain the problem. This is where I answer 3 questions about how to solve the problem. And this is where I wrap up the problem and how I solved it. And that's it. My call to action. So yeah, just having.
There you go, guys. I hope you wrote that down because she just gave you an amazing template for writing awesome blog posts.
You're sweet. Okay, I have some questions. Oh, this one's great because I struggle with this one too. Is it better to write after the kids go to bed or to wake up early? What's your take on that? Because you know what experts say and what works for you.
So here's the thing. We're all different and we have different circadian rhythms. So I'm a person who likes to go to bed early. I am personally not good late at night. If you are a person who does well late at night and doesn't feel it the next day, like it's not like you're dragging the next day, then I think that's totally okay. What I think is most important is to find what truly works for you and forget what people say is the right way to do things. For me, like I said, I like to be in bed by, okay, guys, don't laugh. I like to be in bed by 8:30, 8:45 with a book and be asleep by 9:30. It doesn't always work, but that's what I aim for in my life. My kids get up early. I have the first one has to be out the door at 6:40 in the morning. Because it's special education and he's getting a ride to a school that's not in our immediate area, whatever. So he's got to be out the door at 6:40. My other kids are out the door already at 7:15. So I start my days pretty early. I get up. Again, my kids are older, so they can get up without me. I'm up by 6 most days, and I'm downstairs by 6:30, 6:40 to see the first kid off. And I'm at my desk working by 7:15, 7:30 in the morning as the kids are out the door. I also like to not have the pressure on me during the day. Like if I have a task that's hanging over my head, I want to be done with it early in the morning. When you're not in a place that I love in quotes, the advice to get up an hour before the rest of your family. When you have small kids, that would be getting up at like 2:30 in the morning. I'm not doing that. Like, I don't know anyone who's doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say it's not about whether you write at night or whether you write in the morning. It's finding the time that's going to work for you, that you can be consistent. And bearing in mind too, that when you have small children and you're with them full time, consistent might just mean I'm getting in an hour a day, but it's not necessarily the same hour every day, but I'm putting in that hour every day.
Very, very true. Very true. Because John and I, we had this magical schedule that we were going to wake up early. And we're going to wake up at 5. We're going to go to bed at 9, just like you, right? Because you are fresh in the morning to do really good work. So we're going to wake up at 5 and then we're going to work until 7. And then the kids are going to get up and we're going to start our day. And we did that for 1 week and the kids kept interrupting us. Like, I don't know why, but that was the 1 week that they kept getting up at 6 or 6:30. And we're like, this is just not consistent. So for now, while the kids are a little small, we don't have that consistent schedule. They're more consistent going to bed. So they're all in bed at 8 o'clock, and from 8 to 11, I know it's not ideal, but that's when we work. So,
but I always tell people, it doesn't matter if it's, if it's not the typical time. And when you go and get this workbook, you'll see, I actually show you an excerpt from my own time tracking. And you'll see that there was this one day when I had this block of time, I feel like it was 1 to 4:30 in the afternoon. And I said, I realized this isn't a typical work at home schedule, but it worked for me at that time. That was when I had the time. Like you'll see, there's this one day when one of my son, Adi, was really, really making me nuts. He wanted to go to the pool. It was summer vacation. And I finally said, you know what? Forget it. We're going to the pool. I'll take you to the pool because you'll get your hour in, you'll get it out of your system, and then we can come home and I can work. And yeah, my work that day was broken up and it happened later in the day than I like for it to, but it worked for our family and for us. And that's what's important. It really doesn't matter. There is no better way, you know, writing at night or writing in the morning. It's when it's going to work for you and your family. And forget about what the experts say because they're not living your life.
Right. Your life and your kids are very unique. Okay, cool. Let's see. I think Elizabeth has an SEO question, which might be a little detailed. I know blogging was for me when I found myself bouncing. Oh, sorry. That was not the right one. Okay, here's the one from Yvette that I saw SEO. How do you get your first post written? Do you write or concentrate on SEO words? I've been thinking about my first post and feeling too wrapped up in the technique.
So you're probably a better person to speak to some of this, but I know for me, I don't worry too much about SEO. I think the best SEO is really great content that people want to read and that's truly helpful. That's my approach when I'm writing anything. And I would definitely not be worried about SEO words, but I'm also like, you're definitely much more of a blogging expert than I am.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. It's writing really helpful content. SEO helps so that you know which words people are actually searching for. Because sometimes I might think I have this post on my super simple weekly schedule, and I wrote it and it's really good and it's really helpful, but I didn't target the right words, so nobody finds it. Because the lingo that I used isn't the same that other people use. So that's why SEO is helpful. You write amazing content, but you just use the lingo that most people use that sometimes I forget. Okay. Ooh, what works for second guessing everything you write? How do you get confidence?
So confidence is never magically going to appear. It's going to appear by simply, you know, flexing that writing muscle and doing things consistently and showing up and putting the stuff out there. I am definitely a fan of done is better than perfect. It's the internet. The thing is, you can go back and edit things later. Like I promise you, you're going to go back 2 weeks, a year, whatever from now and read the blog post and there's a typo and I never saw it. You know what? No one cared. Literally no one cared enough to email you and tell you. It's fine. And when people do, I'll occasionally get an email or a comment from somebody that says like, I love this post, just pointing out a typo. Okay, the world has not stopped turning on its axis. Everything is fine. I find it helpful when people point that out to me because then I can fix it. Confidence doesn't come magically. It comes from doing the thing repeatedly.
I love that. Very true. You have to put in the work for it. All right. That has been so awesome, Abby. I love these tips. So practical. I'm definitely going to implement them and then let you know how it goes.
Awesome.
They can find everybody here. This is Abby Parrots. She's amazing. She has 5 kids. She's grown a very successful freelancing business. You guys can find her at successfulfreelancemom.com/SAMB, where you can download the time tracking spreadsheet or workbook and follow the tips that she just gave us during this live and kind of change your life so that you can find time to work on your blog and on your business. Like, this has been really awesome. Any last words, Abby, that you have for them?
I mean, I just want you guys to know it's hard, especially when you have small kids. It's hard. It gets easier. I know it doesn't feel like it will, but it will get easier. And just, I've got so much respect for the moms who do this stuff when the kids are so small, because I know exactly how hard it is. So just keep in mind that all you need to get started is that 7 to 10 hours a week, and you can find that. It's hiding in your week. We're going to dig it out. We're going to find it so that you can use it and build the business that you really, really want to have.
I love that. You're awesome, Abby. Thank you so much for all your advice and your time.
Well, thanks for having me. This has been such a blast. I want to do this again.
Awesome. Let's do it. So have a wonderful night. I know it's late there in Israel. And again, thank you. And we will talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.